All right, welcome into the Morning Burrito Podcast. It is Tuesday. Man, it's almost Christmas. 10 a.m. I'm Michael. This is my co-host for the day, Andy.
Good morning.
And we're gonna get to know him here in a bit, but just wanted to welcome you into the Morning Burrito today, and we're gonna have an awesome show today. To all things Christmas. I mean, Christmas is just a few days away. As the song says, this is the most wonderful time of the year.
Yes.
So really excited, Andy, to have you on the show. We're going to introduce you in just a second, but we'll be right back with the Morning Burrito Podcast. All right. Well, we are back in. Welcome, everybody. It is great to have our guest host today, Andy. Hopefully, you guys got to see our show last Thursday. I know that's usually Tuesday, but we were on Thursday last week, and I hope you got to see our guest host Kelly, who we have talked about on this show a ton. If you have not watched that episode, go back and take a look. It's episode number 48, and we talked about Christmas stuff and some of Kelly and his family's traditions, and we talked about what Christmas is really all about, and today we'll touch on some of that stuff as well. But before we really get into the Christmas discussion, I want Andy Hermans to introduce himself to you guys, and we can talk about how we know each other and all those things. But tell us about you, Andy. What do you do? What brought you here? All that?
Well, we met each other a few years ago now, and since we do youth ministry together, kind of in the communities, that's how we kind of connected. But I am a youth missionary, full-time missionary now through In Faith, and In Faith does missions work inside of the U.S. Most of the time people think of missions work outside of the U.S., but In Faith really is dedicated to helping communities where you live. And so since I live in the Oregon-Boardman area, that's where I do ministry full-time. I help with 2 youth groups now. Do Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Oregon High School. Kind of help out at a church there in Boardman called the Boardman Community Church. I go guest speak. I kind of jack of all trades, I guess. Kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Andy is a guy that I gravitated towards very easily. Number one, I mean, obviously, as you said, student ministry brings pastors together because really nobody understands being a youth pastor or ministering to students unless you do it. And the pitfalls and the possibilities that are student ministry. So you and I have had just awesome conversations about ministry, but also just life and being in ministry together. But also we share for the most part a love of the same kind of music, and so we've put some concerts on together here in our area. Most notably, the shirt that you're wearing, the Seventh Day Slumber concert here at Hermnaz back in, is that May? I think it was May.
So, yeah.
And that was just an incredible.
That was awesome.
as I reflect on this year, that is definitely one of the highlights of 2021 was having not only Seventh Day Slumber, who was just, they were awesome, but having pyro in my church sanctuary when my pastor was out of town was just great. There was nothing better than that.
Cool. That was pretty cool.
So thank you for that, and I haven't been able to thank you publicly for that, but you did a lot of work on getting them here, and so we look forward to more of that coming in the future here in Umatilla County and Morrow County area. So In Faith is a really cool organization, and I applaud In Faith and you for what you do. Like you said, I think there are a lot of people in the church world that don't really understand or know or are ignorant to the fact that there is missions work happening in the United States today, and it's not just happening in the urban centers of our country. It's happening in rural parts of our country. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, actually, I just went to the In Faith conference about a month or so ago down in, where was it at? Cannon Beach? I think that's where it was. But anyway, they bring all of the In Faith missionaries together to just kind of celebrate them, give them a time of relaxation, kind of visiting, getting to know each other. And there were several hundred of us from around the country there. at that one event, just sharing ministry. I mean, there's all kinds of people that do all kinds of things. I met people that have horseback riding ministries, people that go to fairs and do, balloons and face painting. Jim Webb, he does
Sure.
that kind of thing. People that are pastors of churches, but they're connected to camps, just all kinds of things. And I'm really, I'm pretty blessed. I feel very thankful that I signed up with them and get to do what I do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because it's needed. It's needed in our communities.
Yep. And you also, as you mentioned, you're part of FCA, and this may be an unknown to people who are listening, but FCA is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah.
How long has FCA been around?
The organization, for decades.
Decades, right?
Decades, a long time, yeah. I've been doing it for, I think this is 6 years now in Oregon. And we try to have, today's FCA day because yesterday there were so many sports activities going on. So I will have 3 meetings this evening, hitting all sports, basketball, wrestling, cheerleading. And, it's really exploded in Oregon. It's a great way for the kids to get some kind of biblical talk, prayer, just even to hear about Jesus. Because they're so busy.
Yeah.
They don't have an opportunity to come to a youth group or church or whatever.
Sure.
So I just take it to them.
Yeah, FCA was around when I was in high school all those years ago, and FCA is a great organization. I would highly encourage you, if you don't know about FCA, look them up online. Certainly an organization you can donate to. We have FCA here in Umatilla County, led by Rod Brigado and his team. I mean, there's just our middle schools, our high schools, they're full every year. Stanfield, Umatilla High School, they're all covered. And so if you want to get involved, you can certainly send me a message here on the show, and I will put you in contact, depending on where you live, with either Andy or Rod. And I know they would appreciate any help with FCA. It is a great opportunity for kids to hear about Jesus in an arena that they know and understand, which is sports. FCA is not for everybody. It's not for the kid that doesn't like sports. It's not for them. There are other avenues for those kids, but this is specifically for our athletes. And we all know that athletics can be an area that can draw kids away from Jesus. So having something there that draws them to Jesus is really a great thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let's get into the Christmas conversation, Andy. And I know I shared this with Kelly on our last show, but I know you and I, like Kelly and I, we share an affinity for elf culture, for Christmas culture. Is that fair to say?
I don't like elf.
Oh, no, I'm not saying like like being a Christmas culture.
Oh, yes. I do enjoy Christmas very much.
Yes. Christmas is, as I said before, it's the most wonderful time of the year. That song is so perfect in that it really does describe what I think is the best time of the year. There are several things I love about Christmas. I've shared this on the podcast before, but just to recap, I think the music is great. The decorations are great. People are typically, not in all cases, but typically are more joyful and more giving and more, patient in some sense.
Yes.
Probably in other senses not, but we tend to be just nicer to each other at Christmas, and I love that. But let's talk about you've lived, correct me if I'm wrong, you've lived in Eastern Oregon your entire life.
Yep.
I have not. I have traveled the United States pretty extensively at this point in my travels as a pastor. So tell me what Christmas has been like in your time living in Eastern Oregon. Is there snow? Just give them a description, those who are watching, because I know there are people in Singapore. My cousin who lives in Singapore actually listens to the show. So,
okay.
Explain Eastern Oregon Christmas.
Well, you can look outside right now, and that's usually how it is. Dark and kind of dreary.
Yeah.
Not too often in my 40-plus years of being here have I remembered snow on Christmas. Maybe a few times, but it's not really a common thing.
We don't get a lot of precipitation in December.
Yeah. It usually comes in January and February.
Mm-hmm. Or March, when March. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But, I guess The typical lights, people like to decorate their homes a lot. That's like a normal thing around here at Christmas time. I have kind of noticed a decline of it over the years, though, which has kind of made me sad. But
Laziness.
yeah, maybe.
I mean, I will attest to that. I don't want to get up on a ladder around my house. So
maybe. But yeah, we generally don't have much snow. It's just kind of dark and dreary. But I think of the times of going shopping, being out and about and seeing all kinds of Christmas decorations. You'll see businesses that are decorated just for the holidays, which is nice. But I like it when it's decorated for the right reason, not commercialized. And so I don't know. I guess maybe it's like a typical Christmas.
I have to say, so I grew up in a town called Lockport, just outside of Chicagoland, and we had the typical Christmas. I mean, you'd have the light poles down in our downtown area would have, garland and things. And I mean, they would do all of that and the lights. And of course, lights outside of houses and stuff. But, it's interesting you brought up the lights on houses, because I think there's the like haves and have-nots when it comes to lights, because you have some people who will go just insane now.
Insane, yes.
With the, like we have two in town here in Hermiston that I know of two houses for sure that have set their lights to Christmas music, and they're like, they're like a big deal. You drive up to their house so you can listen to the station and watch the light show. But then there's people like me who have one little wiener dog blow up deal outside with a light on that you can barely tell it's even lit on the inside, that I bought at Walmart really cheap. So I would credit that to laziness, because I'm lazy and I didn't want to put lights on my house this year. But I also think it's interesting when I think back to how our town, well, I know you don't live here in Hermiston, but how Hermiston handles Christmas. They shut down part of a city street for a Christmas, where the Christmas tree goes and Christmas setup and stuff. And I've not experienced that anywhere I've lived before, where they shut down a part of a city street for the entire Christmas season, pretty much. And I think that's just awesome.
That's kind of a newer thing here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't always been that way. I mean, I can always remember in Oregon, they have the Christmas tree lighting, which is the whole community would come together, and you'd have, Santa Claus obviously would be there, and
sure,
they would have choirs singing and things like that. And so, but yeah, that shutting down the street, that's kind of a newer thing.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I like it too.
And the thing about Christmas here, that I knew it intuitively when I moved here, but this isn't necessarily Christmas specific, more winter specific. I intuitively knew that I was moving farther north than I've ever lived before, but it didn't really dawn on me until this year, because a buddy of mine who I was ministering with, he was one of the pastors I ministered with in Oklahoma. He recently moved from New Mexico up to British Columbia. So he's about 6.5 hours north of us in Penticton, British Columbia. And he and I were talking, and he's like, man, does it get dark at like 4:00 in the afternoon down there in Oregon? I said, yep. And he lives, Penticton is set like right between two mountain ranges. So when, they're east and west mountains, so they're sitting, right there in the middle. And when the sun goes down, it goes down over the mountains. And so the sun goes, it starts sooner.
Oh man.
And so he's like, dude, I've lived in Oklahoma my entire life, Oklahoma and Texas. I have never experienced dark like this.
Oh yeah.
And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, man, it really does get dark here really early. We really don't need the daylight savings time here. No. It really hurts us.
No. And speaking of wintertime, that's something that I kind of struggle with, is when it gets into be like January and February, when it's just fog and kind of haze and dark for like 2 months. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Well, Eric, who is our typical co-host on this show, Eric is a guy who grew up in Michigan, so not really all that far from where I grew up, and he's lived on the coast or in Oregon for a very large percentage of his ministry time, 15 years in Newport, and then I think he's going on his 8th year here. So he's been in Oregon a long time, but he loves the coast. And so he loves that. He loves the fog and the darkness and the rain and the wet. And I'm like, no. When I get to Christmas, like, I don't like snow. Just FYI, like, snow stinks. However, I like to visit snow, and I like snow on Christmas. I think because on Christmas I don't do anything. So as long as it's melted by the time I go back to work, we're golden. As long as I don't have to drive somewhere, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't care. But that is one thing that I miss about Christmas from other places I've lived. In the same was true in Oklahoma, because Oklahoma doesn't get snow on Christmas almost ever. But just missing that snow on Christmas, or at least the chance to have it, we pretty much. I mean, it would have to be an abnormality for us to get Christmas snow.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, let's talk about your. We've been doing this for the last few weeks. What's your favorite family traditions in the Hermans household?
One, we like to go out and look at Christmas lights.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have it in the calendar to do this Saturday night.
There you go.
Because I want to make sure it gets done. You know how it is.
It gets real busy next week.
It gets real busy.
Or, this week.
And so, that's one thing that we enjoy doing is going out and looking at Christmas lights. And we kind of know, like, the hot spots to hit, so that's where we always go. Like the one here in Hermiston with the music. But, like, even down the street we live on, I mean, every day I'm driving by it, and there's like 6 houses in the row, that are all decked out and everything. And I've seen a few there in Oregon where they're just lit up like the extreme.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that we like to do. My wife always makes sugar cookies.
There you go.
She always makes tons of goodies, which are fantastic. She already made a bunch of goodies already. They didn't last for very long at our house.
Did you eat many of them?
Oh, well, when there are 4 guys in the house, they don't last very long.
Yeah.
But we like to, something we have kind of started doing is getting a real tree every year. And usually we went with the fake ones because they're easy, I guess. Laziness, there we go.
Sure.
But this year we kind of had a difficult time finding a real one just because of the price of things and, the drought we had during the summer. So we kind of have a fake one, but it looks good. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's all kinds of things that we do. We do Advent. We make sure that, that's a priority in our house to do that. My wife likes to decorate.
So does mine.
And I love it. I don't know.
As long as I don't have to do it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't mind doing it. She kind of had me making some goodies and stuff, some rustic looking items for the house.
There you go.
And I don't know. We just.
I saw some stuff you put online on Facebook. It's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like making that stuff anyway, but.
You are I don't know if I would call you a tinkerer, but you definitely like to be in the shop and just make things.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. Definitely a reason. So. That's kind of like my alone time, I guess.
Yeah. So your story, is, well, they don't know. Your story is really cool. And one of the great things about getting to know you over these last few years has been just hearing your story and hearing how God has changed your life, how God has taken somebody who was far away and brought them home. And so, part of anyone's story, I think, when we come to know Jesus, is that Christmas tends to change, or at least our view of Christmas, how we approach Christmas changes when we know Jesus, as opposed to when we don't.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying that Christmas can be very easily a selfish and very self-centric type of holiday.
Yeah.
But can you tell us how Christmas has changed for you over these years as you came to know Jesus, and maybe even weave in some of your testimony in that?
Yeah,
for our audience.
Well, before Jesus, we were commercialized in my household. All the kids, we had to make sure we spent a certain dollar amount on each one of them, and when you have a multitude of children, that can be very expensive after a while.
Sure.
And so you go through all the stress of not having enough money, you don't have enough gifts, you don't have enough this, are you going to disappoint a kid and all that kind of thing. And as time has went on, things have changed. And for me personally, knowing Jesus, Christmas is it's just a different time of year for me. It gives me a time to focus on him and who he is, the things he's done for me. And that kind of in turn has changed our Christmas doing from let's get a whole bunch of gifts that the kids are going to play with for a month and then throw away to what is something that the kids need. What is it something that's educational for them? What is something that they need or they use on a regular basis? And the rest of the time, it's for others. And that's because, like I said, what Jesus has done for me, I want to do that for others.
Sure.
And so it has really taken a different kind of flip for us. We don't necessarily even really buy, my wife and I, we don't buy each other gifts because the way we see it, we live in America where we have money and we can go buy a gift for each other or go do whatever we want whenever we want. So why not take this special time of year and focus on Jesus instead of focusing on us?
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, and we'll come back to that sentiment in a bit as we go a little deeper. But something that we, again, like to do on this podcast is we like to, at Christmas time, talk and debate about Christmas movies, Christmas songs, and we did that last week on the podcast on Thursday with Kelly. But today, as again, we are only a few days away from Christmas, and one of the things that I've always loved is watching Christmas movies. So what are your top 3 Christmas movies, if you can?
Oh, if I can. A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story. See, now, if you watch the show, if you watch the podcast from last Thursday, Kelly and I debated at length about this. He hates A Christmas Story. He thinks it's an awful movie. And I was so disappointed. Like, he's my best friend, but it hurts my heart that he does not like A Christmas Story, because I think it is one of the greatest Christmas films. I don't know that it's the greatest, but it is a great Christmas film for me. I love it.
I love that movie.
You remember when I couldn't remember the channel when we talked about this on Thursday, but there was a channel way back when that would do 24 hours of A Christmas Story every Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes.
And I would watch it at least twice that day.
Yeah.
Every year at Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Okay, so Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story. We always sit down as a family. Maybe this is a tradition I kind of didn't think about for a second, but we always watch Polar Express.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
That's a great movie. And for some reason, and I don't know if it's because of I have little boys, Home Alone has been played several times.
I love that movie
so far this year.
So when you watch Home Alone, do you package Home Alone 1 and 2? Like, you have to watch the second one if you watch the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not it's the wrong way to do it. It's kind of like watching Indiana Jones. Like, you can't just watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and leave it alone. You got to watch all of them.
Yep.
Although Crystal Skull was kind of
yeah. Well,
anyway.
Home Alone 3 is kind of.
It's okay. This is what we talked about this on Thursday too. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's for what it is. It's okay. Now I have to ask you. I asked Kelly this. What about Jingle All the Way? Arnold.
We watched this like recently, and the greatest thing that my kids got out of it was we were actually at Walmart and we saw Turbo Man on the shelf.
No way.
Yes, way.
That's hilarious.
So that was the best part that we got out of it.
So my friend who I mentioned earlier from Penticton, British Columbia, or who lives in there, he's not from there, but he's a pastor, and he this Christmas has decided to do, apparently he's become a film critic now, and so he's doing these film reviews of Christmas movies, and he, Brock, I'm giving you a shout out on this, but he did an amazing film review of of Jingle All the Way.
Oh boy.
Not 2 is awful, so don't even waste your time with that, but Jingle All the Way. And he's like, I know it's ridiculous, I know Arnold's ridiculous for a Christmas movie, but he talks about the warehouse scene where Arnold goes to buy the Turbo Man, and he's there with Jim Belushi's character as the Santa, right? Yeah. And you have the little characters, and people of all different races and stuff. But there's one elf that's got like an accent, like New York or Chicago type of accent to him. And I love that movie. It's so ridiculous and so crazy, but it's a great movie. And he was talking about how he watches it with his boy, so you probably
we watched it, and I think even my 10-year-old Ezekiel, he said, Dad, this is really cheesy.
It is. It is a cheesy movie, but it's really fun. And Phil Hartman's character, while sleazy as all get out, I just love that character. Phil Hartman is so awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't go wrong with Sinbad.
Yeah.
Sinbad was great too. What are your favorite Christmas songs?
Oh man.
Do you lean more towards like the secular Santa winter type songs or
no, actually,
Christmas carols?
We like or we listen to a lot of old school, like Bing Crosby,
Nat
Frank
King Cole.
Sinatra, things like that. So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I have like favorites. We just put it on and let it play. But I mean, I love the old hymns,
Yeah.
that are regarding Christmas. And so, I mean, I wouldn't say I necessarily have like a favorite.
Sure.
I do like the older ones. I mean, when we get into like the Mariah Carey stuff, no thanks.
Yeah, I'll pass on that too.
No, thank you.
Now, I was telling Kelly one of my favorite hymns is "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen," because I truly believe that if the writer, I don't even know who wrote it, but if the writer of "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen" lived today, they'd be a heavy metal artist.
Yes.
Like that song is a rock song, like a hard rock song. Yeah. So if you ever listen to Mercy Me's version of that song from their original Christmas album, it's exactly what I picture for "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen." It's got just an edge to it that I love.
Speaking of that, the other day I started listening to a Project 86 Christmas album. Yeah, it was pretty good.
So an album that is on repeat. Now, this isn't for everybody. I know not everybody likes heavy metal music, but if you want a heavy metal or heavy metal type of Christmas, a really rock centric type of Christmas album that is really top notch and good, and actually is more instrumental than anything else. There's like one or two songs maybe that have singing on it on the entire album. August Burns Red has an amazing Christmas album. Very, very, yes, very good. August Burns Red is an amazing band and very talented guys. All right, I'm going to give you some. I'm going to turn this so you can't see them.
Here we go.
Okay,
Here we
so Christmas, would you rather? Okay, this is going to be really fun. Some of these I think I know the answer for you, but some of them I don't.
Maybe I'll surprise you.
Maybe. All right, so the first one, I want to find out who you'd rather have as a friend. Okay. And you have to, on all of these, you have to explain your answer. You can't just give the one-word answer. You got to explain it. Okay. Would you rather have as a friend Frosty the Snowman or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Rudolph.
Why?
Because Frosty's cold. I don't like to be cold.
I'll buy that. I don't like snow, so I would choose Rudolph too. He's got a cool nose.
Yeah.
He can get me places. I don't even have to use my.
I can go for a ride.
Yeah, and I don't have to use my headlights or anything.
Nope.
I don't have to use my phone on my camera or camera on my phone. All right, number 2.
Oh boy.
Now I'm thinking specifically of your beard on this first part. Okay. Would you rather have tinsel for beard hair or fingernails that light up like Christmas lights?
Wow. That's a terrible question.
I know.
Maybe the fingernails because they would be easier to clean. Tinsel. You have a beard.
I'm picturing now just tinsel, like this shiny tinsel.
Yeah, well, you have a beard, so when it sheds a little bit and it's all over the place, you would have tinsel everywhere.
That's true.
I mean, when you have tinsel at Christmas time, you're cleaning it up until like the 4th of July.
This is why we don't use tinsel in my home, because I don't like vacuuming it up. All right, here's a this is gross. Would you rather have eggnog instead of milk with your cereal or a candy cane sandwich?
Ooh, I like both.
What?
I love eggnog.
I
love eggnog. It's great. But I think a candy cane sandwich would be hard on my teeth. So I'm going to take the eggnog in my cereal. What kind of cereal? It cannot be like Tutti Frutti. If it's like chocolate cereal of some kind, then it would be okay. But if you're putting like Fruit Loops in eggnog,
I was thinking Apple Jacks, actually.
Oh, yuck. Well, I'd have to eat the candy cane sandwich.
All right. Would you rather live in a gingerbread house or ride on the Polar Express?
Ride on the Polar Express. That would be so awesome.
I know.
That would be cool. Besides, if I lived in a gingerbread house, I'd probably eat it.
That's how I was going to say. I wouldn't have a house for very long.
No,
I'd be homeless.
I'd be homeless.
All right, number 5. Would you rather be a shepherd or a magi in the Christmas story?
Ooh. Boy.
I know that's deep.
Yeah, that is. Man, if I was a magi, the wait, the anticipation would be like the travel would be murder on me because of my ADD. I would have a hard time with that. So I'd have to be the shepherd. That sounds way better, even though you'd be probably dirty and stinky. I mean, I can handle that part.
And people probably didn't like you very much.
Yeah, that's fine. People don't like me anyway.
All right, number 6. And you guys certainly can answer these in the comments. I forgot to say that. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that.
Would you rather have fruitcake for 2 days or candy canes for 2 days straight?
Candy
meaning this is all you eat for 2 days.
Candy cane's easy. Fruitcake is absolutely disgusting. I don't even know why it's
Okay,
made.
so this is an old joke from I think it's Gaffigan. I might be wrong, but I think it's Gaffigan. And how it goes is fruit, great. Cake, awesome. Fruitcake, nasty crap.
Yes.
It makes no sense.
Yes.
We talked about this on the podcast a couple weeks ago. This is not a good gift for us as pastors. Both Eric and I, not interested. But our office manager, Gabrielle, who's been on the show a few times, if you want to send her a gift, give her fruitcake.
I bet she likes that.
She has never had it, so she's open to eating it, even though everybody says it's gross.
She's open to eating it?
I told her, you just may not do it again.
She's a trooper.
All right, here's a deep one. Would you rather visit the North Pole, assuming it existed, or Bethlehem?
Bethlehem.
I knew that was what was going to come. But I mean,
The North Pole's cold.
yes,
No
but
significance. Well,
yeah, but if
I mean,
it's anything like in Santa Claus, it seems like a pretty cool place.
yeah, but that's just a movie.
That's true, but it seems like a cool place.
It seems like a cool place, but Bethlehem.
And I imagine if Santa Claus were real and the North Pole is a real place, that they'd probably use some magic so that I could be warm all the time, so I wouldn't feel cold.
Give you some electric socks.
Yeah. All right. This is funny. Would you rather see the Nutcracker, so sit through the entire opera, the Nutcracker, or dance in the Nutcracker? Put in the comments what you'd rather have him do.
Oh, wow. Sit through it or be in it. Wow.
Not just be in it. You'd be a dancer in it.
A dancer in tights?
Probably so.
No, thank you. I could bear sitting through it, yes, but being in it, no. And a dancer, no.
I want to see a dance in it. I think that would be great.
No.
Okay, so would you rather watch Christmas videos all day long or be Christmas shopping all day long?
Watch Christmas videos all day long.
There's no doubt on that
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, no doubt. I don't mind
But
shopping.
I know there are some people who really enjoy the Christmas shopping thing. My brother-in-law is like that. I don't get it.
No.
But
no.
for me, I would rather just sit in my PJs and watch Christmas movies and drink hot chocolate.
Yeah, shopping all day does not sound appealing whatsoever.
No. Not at Christmas time for sure.
No.
Unless I'm going to Bass Pro. If I'm going to Bass Pro at Christmas, I probably could handle that. Bass Pro is a great store to be in at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Or Cabela's. Really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right, last one. This one again, I think I know the answer to this. This is a pretty good question. Deep. Would you rather spend or have $100 to spend on yourself for Christmas? And this is foreshadowing, by the way. Or have $1,000 to buy gifts for other people?
I would buy gifts for other people.
I thought that's how you'd answer.
Yeah. There's my wife. So from the home office at In Faith, they gave us a little Christmas gift card of $30, which is nice. I mean, it'll get used. And I offered that to my wife, and she was like, "No, honey, you deserve that." And I said, "No, it's fine. It's not a big deal." So, yeah, for other people, that's what's more important.
We've talked about it on the show several times. It happens sometimes, whether it's Pastor Appreciation Month or just randomly or Christmas or whatever, I'll get gift cards to Starbucks, which is funny because I don't drink any coffee. And to be quite honest, no offense to Starbucks, their hot chocolate's kind of gross. It's just bitter and not.
Yeah.
It's not hot chocolate in my opinion. So my wife loves it when I get gift cards to Starbucks because it means it's going to her. It's not coming to me.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, before we get to the last piece we're going to talk about this morning, do you have any favorite holiday stories? So something that's happened at the holidays sometime in your life that's, funny, or maybe it's something just good that happened. That
Sure.
like to
I
share.
got a good one.
Okay.
So a number of years ago, I injured my back, and I couldn't work for like 2 years. And during that time, that was a holiday season, Christmas time, and we had some, great friends that were kind of helping us out, helping us along with food and, paying electricity and all those kinds of things. But when it came to Christmas time, it wasn't like we broadcasted it or put it out there, that we didn't have anything for the kids or whatever. And I kid you not, it was like day after day, people started sending stuff to us for our kids. Try not to get choked up here. But that was like, that was about a decade ago. And I'll just never forget that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I don't know, we made all kinds of new friends and, close people that we, stay in contact still. And it was just a very nice gesture. And that kind of is what started us into, if I got extra, I'm going to do for extra, for others. Just from that gesture that everybody did to us. And that was probably like one of our, favorite, if not the most memorable favorite, Christmases we've had as a family.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, the people at Hermnaz will remember this story because it really wasn't that long ago. It feels like it because of pandemic, but when I first got here, I got here in September of 2019, and just jumped right on. I mean, we have October. Fall Fest is a big deal at our church, so Eric and I were in planning for Fall Fest pretty heavy, and then we went on a staff retreat at the beginning of November, right after Fall Fest, and spent some days at the coast and had this grand vision that God gave us for 2020. And we're really excited about last year's ministry and what was going to happen. And then shortly after we returned from our staff retreat, Eric went down on a Saturday with, at the time, when I found out that he was in the hospital, we thought it might be a heart attack, that they were testing him for a heart attack. It ended up being a pinched nerve in his neck, and potentially could have had surgery. I mean, it was a whole mess, and he was down for the entirety of the Christmas and Thanksgiving season. And I'll never forget, so our church, we have this tradition, Christmas tradition of adopting a family at Christmas time. And generally it's, somebody in the community. I mean, one time there was a family that had a fire in their home, and so we took care of their needs for Christmas that year. Sometimes it's we have adopted Rocky Heights Elementary School as our school, so sometimes it's a family from Rocky Heights or whatever. But anyway, this particular Christmas, my family was out this particular Sunday morning, at the beginning of Advent, and Eric and his family were out because Eric was in recovery from all of the stuff that he was going through health-wise. And so I'm sitting in the front pew by myself, and I had no idea what our board had decided as far as who they were going to adopt. And the same weekend that Eric had gone down, back in early November, that same weekend on the Sunday following Eric's injury, my wife was pregnant and had a real scare. We thought we were going to lose our daughter.
Wow.
And I left the service early. Right after I got off stage, my wife had called and said something's really wrong. I need to go to the hospital. And so we spent the day in the hospital. And then so fast forward again a few weeks, and I'm sitting in that pew, and my wife's not feeling good, but she's at home, and and the church just the church board announces that they're adopting both Eric's family and my family to take care of us at Christmas. And in the same way, I mean, it was not expected. Certainly wasn't something that, it's something we'll never forget. As a pastoral family, we've been blessed at every church we've been at, but that was a blessing above and beyond anything we could have ever expected. And fortunately, my baby came out, and she's healthy and doing things that are crazy, and she's nuts as a almost 2-year-old now. So
cool.
It's crazy. All right. Well, let's finish with some Christmas related trivia. I want to see if these statistics surprise you at all. Okay. So first of all, $1 trillion, it is estimated, will be spent on Christmas this year.
Wow.
Across the planet. And nearly $100 billion of that, so nearly a tenth, spent on online alone.
Wow.
Nearly $100 billion online purchases alone. How about this one? On average, each individual person will spend $1,000 on Christmas.
$1,000 on their entire family or on an individual?
Just on Christmas alone.
Just on
so
Christmas?
Decorations, food, travel, gifts, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I might be able to see that one.
In places like Portland, Portland was actually named in the source that I found this on. In places like Portland, the average is closer to $1,500 per person.
I could see that with the rising cost of things.
Yeah. According to a survey in 2016, this is funny, 22% of Americans said they did their online shopping on the toilet. That doesn't surprise me at all, because I've done it. So
no, that does not surprise me.
This probably won't surprise you. 20% of all gifts, again, according to this survey, were impulse buys. They were not planned on, which is absolutely believable, because I've done that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to buy that for so-and-so.
Yeah, yep.
Holiday shopping makes up about 30% of a retailer's annual sales.
Yeah.
I actually thought that would have been higher, to be honest.
I kind of thought so too.
58% of consumers buy gifts for themselves. I find that hilarious.
What? 50% buy them for themselves?
58% of consumers buy gifts for themselves every Christmas. So nearly 60% of all people that they surveyed buy gifts for themselves.
Wow.
At Christmas. I'd like to know why that is.
Yeah.
I'd like to explore that reasoning.
Yeah.
So with those statistics and those thoughts, in these last couple minutes, I want to just ask the question, where has Christmas gone wrong?
Well, we have moved from in my opinion, we've went from a giver type of society to a taker. And what I mean by that is it's all about me type of thing. And so I can see where parents feel pressure from their kids or even from their family members to provide like the perfect gift every single time. And, and as that has continued year after year, the ante just goes up.
Sure.
Would it be great to be able to, buy my wife a new car every Christmas? Well, yeah, that'd be fantastic. But is that necessary? No.
Is it likely?
No. But I really think we just have moved away from, thinking of others to thinking of ourselves.
Yeah, I also think, I think that's absolutely true. But beyond that, we've lost sight of what Christmas is actually about.
Yes.
Christmas is about the gift. Mm-hmm. The one and only gift, the one and only gift that really ever matters, to be quite honest.
Exactly.
You can give a wonderful gift. I mean, good for you. I mean, the most wonderful of gifts is great, but there is the most wonderful gift, and that's the gift of Jesus Christ. Yes. And that's what Christmas is about. Last week we talked about Christmas comes from the two words put together, Christmas Mass, which is celebrating Christmas, a mass, a service, a worship service, whatever you want to call it, on Christmas. But Christ is the central part of that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the Mass without Christ. So
Yeah.
Christ is the center of Christmas. And, I don't know about you, but I get always kind of agitated or just, it's a cliche. We need to put Christ back in Christmas. I always, or Jesus is the reason for the season. And no offense if you've said those phrases before, but it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to live it and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you say that, but then you're going and spending oodles and boodles of cash, one of the statistics we didn't talk about, but we've talked about here on the show and in our church during this Advent season is, on average, every household in America will accrue $1,000 of debt every year at Christmas, on top of the $1,000 that's being spent on Christmas, right?
Wow.
So this is not the intention of Christmas.
No,
this is not what Christ had in mind. You think of Saint Nick. We talked about this last week. I don't think Saint Nick, if he were alive today, the basis for what is Santa Claus. Saint Nick was a priest, a Catholic priest. I don't think that if he looked at Christmas today, it would look anything like what he thought of when he started giving stuff to kids.
Yeah.
So the question is then, as we close, how do we get it back? And I think there's a few things we can do. Number one, you can worship fully at Christmas. Worshiping fully at Christmas means that Christ is the center, and worship requires sacrifice. So sometimes it means just sacrificing your intentions. That your intention to give your kid a better Christmas than you've ever had. That's a stupid attitude. I mean, frankly, that's dumb. Like, that's not what a holiday is supposed to be about.
No.
That's not the attitude as parents that we should have. And maybe it's sacrificing your desire for Christmas, what you want it to be, as opposed to just being what it is and going to the Scripture and allowing the Scripture to speak for it. And really centering yourself on worshiping the King, because he is the coming King. He is the conquering King, and he's your Savior, and that's what Christmas is about. The second thing you could do is spending less. I know it sounds like simplistic, thought, but spend less on Christmas this year.
Yeah.
I know we're only 3 days away from Christmas at this point, 4 days, whatever. It's the 21st, and you are probably already, well, if you're a man, you may not have any gifts bought yet. I know I've run on the 23rd and the 24th to buy gifts before, but chances are you have a lot of stuff purchased. But if you haven't done your Christmas shopping yet, if you're one of those late people like I am, maybe rethink what you're going to spend this year. Rethink how you're going to spend your resources. And I would add that they're not your resources to begin with.
Yeah.
You're a steward of God's resources. So
Yeah.
I know this is the pastor. I'm not trying to preach to you, but this is the reality here. The third thing you can do is to give more. Make Christmas about giving. And when I say give more, I don't mean give more gifts of stuff.
Yeah.
When I say give more, you talked about the extra and giving away that extra to other people. That's what we're talking about. For our church, one of the ways that we're giving more this Christmas is to donate to a well project. We call it the Christmas Water Project, and we have adopted Asia this year as a church. Instead of adopting an individual family, we're adopting the continent of Asia, and our church has set the goal of building 10 clean water wells in Asia this year, or this coming year. And that is a huge thing. I mean, that is really exciting, because that's providing life, literally living water,
Yes.
as Jesus talks about with the woman at the well. This is living water for some people in Asia, and it provides a clean water well for 20 years for a village, and that's an incredible thing. So, so give more. Of course, that's not the only thing you can do as a water project. I mean, there's people that are hungry. There are people that need clothes. There are, homeless projects all across the country. Get involved. Do something to take what you're spending less and put it towards giving more. Because if you spend less, you can give more.
Yeah,
that's how
exactly.
That's how it works. If you're going to spend $1,000 anyway, why don't you spend half of that or more on other people?
Yeah.
Giving them life instead of giving them stuff. And then the last piece, which again I think is really simple, we talked about this on Sunday, or we will be talking about this on Sunday rather, this coming Christmas Sunday, loving all. And realizing that Jesus came because he loved us. God came in flesh because he loved us. He loved us so incredibly much that we can't even fathom that kind of love in our own life. But he gave it so that he could be a sacrifice for us. So we should then in turn love him in response to that.
Yes.
And we should also love other people because that's what Jesus called us to do.
Yep.
So, yeah, those are the 4 things: worship fully, spend less, give more, love all. If you do those 4 things this Christmas season, what's left of it, if you haven't already, hey, finish strong. Finish this Christmas season strong and start your new year in the same way. And just practically speaking, if you spend less at Christmas time, guess what you don't have to worry about? A Visa bill or a MasterCard bill after the new year.
Yes, I am amazed at how many people put stuff on credit cards.
It's
and you get it paid off by the time Christmas rolls around
the next time.
Year.
Yep. And then you just put it back on and repeat the cycle. We actually talked about this in a sermon on the 12th. I was doing spend less. We were talking spend less in our church, and that's exactly what I talked about. It's this never-ending cycle, and until you break it, you're going to always be in this debt spiral because of Christmas. How crazy is it to think that you're in a debt spiral because of Christmas? That's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts.
That is not what Christmas is about.
No.
So, hey, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Andy, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having you. And, when Eric's not around, we'll bring you back on the show.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for joining us this year. We will be back next week, and it'll be year in review. We will look back at 2021 and what's gone right, what's gone wrong. We may touch on some political things, but we won't have political discussion. We'll just touch on some current events that have happened in 2021, as we did last year, and just really excited that you guys are a part of this journey on the podcast. And we want to say from Eric, from me, from Andy, from Gabriel, who's been on the show, Kelly, have a great Christmas this year. Put Jesus in the middle of it, and you can't go wrong. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Stay tuned for a song just for you.